Imagine paying $250 a month just for the privilege of knowing exactly when, like, 5,000 people have heard your voice.
Which is wild, right?
Mm.
Because anywhere else on the internet, that is just basic data.
Exactly. I mean, you post a video on YouTube, you watch the view count hit 5,000, and you just move on. It's completely free.
Yeah, but in the podcasting world, that exact hard-capped number is a total luxury. It's something only the enterprise class seems to get.
It really is. And welcome to the deep dive, by the way. If you're listening to this, you are probably standing at the edge of this massive, incredibly murky landscape, just trying to figure out where your audio actually belongs.
And we have brought together a huge stack of research to help you figure that out.
We really have. We've got platform feature guides, in-depth pricing comparisons from places like Alitu and Boomcaster, verified G2 user reviews, and this one highly specific, kind of painfully revealing Reddit thread from the prop podcasting community.
That Reddit thread is fascinating, honestly. It just exposes this massive disconnect between, what the marketing pages promise and what independent creators actually end up dealing with.
Right, because the market has just fragmented in ways nobody saw coming a decade ago.
Totally.
So, our mission today is laser focused. For you, the listener, the goal is to choose a hosting platform that is tailored specifically to your budget and your technical experience level.
We're cutting straight through the marketing jargon today.
Oh, 100%. We're going to compare the features you actually care about. So, ease of use, dynamic ad insertion, advanced analytics, AI transcription, and even custom website builders.
Because right now, choosing a host feels a lot like trying to buy a house in a completely unregulated market.
Yes. That's the perfect analogy. Like, do you want a move-in ready condo where, everything is managed for you, but you're not allowed to paint the walls?
Right. Or do you want that raw plot of land where you have to run all the plumbing yourself, but you own every single blade of grass?
Exactly. And more importantly, what are you actually paying for when some platforms charge literally nothing and others want hundreds of dollars a month?
To understand that crazy price gap, we really have to break down what a podcast host actually does at a mechanical level.
Right.
Because I think a lot of people just assume it's like uploading a video to YouTube, and it's fundamentally not.
No, it's not. So let's start right there. Because if you're just starting out, your budget might be zero, and your technical experience might also be zero.
You just want to get your voice out there.
Exactly. And the first name that inevitably pops up is Spotify for Creators.
Formerly Anchor, for those who remember the old branding.
Right. They rebranded it. And their big neon flashing selling point is that it is completely 100% free.
Not just a trial either.
No. Unlimited audio and video hosting forever. Which is, in a space where server storage and bandwidth are physical things that cost actual money, how on earth are they doing that?
Well, it all comes down to the underlying philosophy of the open web versus the walled garden.
Okay, break that down for me.
So, historically, a podcast host really only had one job. It was there to generate and host an RSS feed.
An RSS feed.
Right. And an RSS feed is essentially just a simple text document. It's a list of instructions.
Okay.
When you publish an episode, you're putting an MP3 file on a server. And the host updates that text document to basically say, hey, episode 1 is located at this exact web address.
So apps like Apple Podcasts or Overcast, they don't actually hold your audio file.
Exactly. They don't host anything. They just read that text document and pull the file from your host server whenever someone hits play.
Okay, so it's like a digital phone book. Apple Podcasts just looks up the number and dials it.
That is a perfect way to think about it.
Yep.
Now, generating that text document and hosting those heavy MP3 files, that costs money.
Right. Server space isn't free.
So when Spotify for Creators offers to do all of this for free with unlimited storage, they're actively absorbing that massive server cost.
But why? What's in it for them?
Because they're playing a much larger game. They want to own the entire ecosystem.
Ah, I see.
They give you monetization tools like subscriptions and access to their Spotify audience network for programmatic ads, assuming you meet their thresholds, of course.
Right, assuming you're big enough. But what's the trade-off there?
The trade-off is control and support.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the chatter online, the G2 reviews, and people are mentioning that recent updates actually stripped away some really beloved tools.
Like what?
Like, they used to have these built-in transition tunes and background music that people loved, gone.
Oh, wow.
And worse, if something breaks, like say your RSS feed suddenly stops communicating with Apple, you are not getting a human being on the phone to help you.
No, you're relying entirely on automated support. which can be a nightmare.
Right. So when you use a totally free platform, you're making a deliberate trade.
You're trading advanced, white-glove customer support and granular control for a highly frictionless, free experience.
Which, to be fair, is fantastic for testing the waters.
Yeah.
It removes all the financial barriers to entry.
It does. But if you're trying to build a serious business, that lack of human support becomes a massive liability.
Okay, so let me push back on the alternatives then.
Go for it.
Let's look at Buzzsprout. Our sources constantly cite them as a huge favorite for hobbyists, and they also offer a quote-unquote free tier.
Right, they do.
But it's a 90-day trial. They limit you to just 2 hours of audio a month. And the kicker, after 90 days, they literally delete your episodes.
They wipe them from the server. Yeah.
Which feels so punitive. If Spotify is free forever with unlimited storage, why would anyone subject themselves to a platform that actively deletes their hard work after 3 months?
I know, it sounds totally counterintuitive at first glance.
It really does.
But it really comes down to what you value more. Do you want raw, permanent storage? Or do you want an optimized workflow and education?
Education, what do you mean by that?
Buzzsprout isn't trying to be a permanent free locker. They are heavily invested in making the process of podcasting as simple as possible. They want to give you a taste of a premium workflow. Even on their lower tiers, they offer IAB-certified analytics, which is huge for tracking real human downloads.
Right, we'll definitely get into the IAB stuff later because it's super important.
And they have these incredibly clean, intuitive dashboards. So when you choose Buzzsprout, you're basically paying, eventually, when you upgrade to their $12 plan, for an ecosystem that actively teaches you how to be better at podcasting.
Oh, I see.
Many creators find that user experience so vastly superior to Spotify's that they will accept the 90-day deletion rule. They use it to test the waters, knowing they plan to upgrade anyway.
Okay, that makes sense. It's like a high-end gym giving you a free week pass, but you're only allowed to use the treadmills for 20 minutes at a time.
Exactly. They want you to experience the nice locker rooms and the vibe, so you eventually buy the real membership.
Right, but what if you just need raw, permanent storage on a budget? Like, you don't want to be locked into Spotify's corporate ecosystem, but you also don't want your files deleted.
That is where a platform like Podbean enters the conversation. They strike a really nice middle ground.
What's their pricing look like?
They have a free tier, but it's capped at 5 hours of total storage and 100 gigabytes of bandwidth per month.
So no video, I assume?
No video and no advanced monetization on the free tier. But their paid tier starts at just $9 a month. And that immediately unlocks unlimited audio.
$9 for unlimited audio is incredibly competitive.
It really is. It's probably the best bang for your buck if sheer volume is your main concern.
I also noticed RSS.com in our research stack. They start around $5 a month, which is super cheap.
Yeah, and they have a really interesting angle, too.
Right, they offer a completely free local and niche plan specifically for community-focused or nonprofit style shows.
Which I love. And it highlights a really important realization for creators.
Which is?
Paying for a host, even if it's just $5 or $9 a month, fundamentally changes your relationship with the platform.
You transition from being the product to being the customer.
Exactly. You gain leverage. You get a smoother workflow, you retain total control over your RSS feed, and you get access to way better analytics.
Okay, but let's pivot for a second. Let's say paying $9 isn't the issue. What if your biggest bottleneck isn't money, but time?
Your time is the ultimate bottleneck.
It really is. I know so many people who want to start a show, but the thought of learning how to use separate recording software and then taking that file into Audacity or GarageBand.
And learning how to edit.
Yes. And then exporting the MP3 and then uploading it to a host. I mean, it's exhausting just saying it out loud.
That manual friction is exactly what kills most new podcasts by, like, episode 7.
Pod fade is real.
It is. But historically, a host was just a digital filing cabinet. Now we're seeing this massive paradigm shift toward what we can call the streamliners.
The streamliners, I like that. So what are they doing differently?
They're transforming from mere storage lockers into full-fledged all-in-one production studios right into your browser window.
It reminds me of the difference between buying raw ingredients at the grocery store versus getting one of those meal kits delivered to your door.
That's exactly what it is.
Like, the meal kit definitely costs a premium, but you save hours of prep time, you don't have to measure out the spices, and the recipe is basically foolproof.
Riverside is a phenomenal example of this.
Right. Their pro plan is $24 a month. So what is that $24 actually doing under the hood?
Well, Riverside initially built its whole reputation on remote recording.
Okay.
If you and I are recording over a standard web tool, like Zoom, the audio is being compressed and sent over the internet in real time.
Which means if your internet dips, the audio glitches.
Right. And that glitch is permanently recorded into the file. Riverside bypasses that entirely.
Wait, how? Do they not use the internet to record?
They use the internet to let us see and hear each other live. But the actual high-resolution recording, up to 4K video and pristine audio, happens locally,
Locally, like on my actual hard drive?
directly onto your computer's hard drive and my computer's hard drive.
Ah, so it's like we both have physical tape decks sitting on our desks, recording our own voices perfectly, regardless of what the Wi-Fi is doing between us.
Exactly. And while we're talking, it's quietly uploading those pristine local files to their servers in the background.
That is so smart.
But where Riverside has really evolved recently is that they've now become the host as well. They've integrated this AI co-creator.
I saw that in the feature guide. What does the AI co-creator actually do?
So you finish recording,
Yeah.
and instead of downloading the files to edit yourself in Premiere or Audacity, their AI acts as your editing agent.
It edits for you.
Yes, it can assemble the episode, clean up the audio, generate your show notes, create a full transcript, and even pull out vertical promotional clips for social media.
Oh, wow.
And then from that exact same browser window, you literally hit a button and it publishes directly to your Spotify and Apple Podcasts feeds.
That is wild. You never even leave the browser tab.
Never.
But then we have Alitu. Our sources mention Alitu is billed specifically as a quote-unquote podcast maker.
Yes.
But it's significantly more expensive. It's $38 a month. If Riverside is already doing all that AI magic for $24, what is Alitu's value proposition to justify an extra $14?
Alitu is hyper-focused on podcasters who want absolutely zero technical friction and who are primarily audio-driven.
Okay, so no video.
Right. It's mostly for audio. It's
Yeah.
described almost like having a personal audio engineer who never sleeps.
I could use one of those.
While Riverside leads heavily into high-end remote video, Alitu focuses on automating the really tedious parts of audio editing. Its standout feature is the automatic audio cleanup.
What does that entail?
It automatically levels the volume so you and your guests sound equally loud. It reduces background noise. And most importantly, it uses AI to automatically detect and remove filler words.
Wait, like the ums and ahs?
Exactly. The ums,
Yeah.
the ahs, the awkward long pauses, it just snips them out cleanly.
Wait, I was thinking about this when I saw that $38 price tag. At first, you get sticker shock.
Sure, 38 is a lot for just hosting.
But if I'm paying a freelance audio editor $50 or $100 an episode just to painstakingly cut out every time I say, Alitu's AI is actually replacing a human contractor.
That is the exact mental calculation they want you to make.
It's not just a storage locker, it's an employee.
Exactly. It's designed for creators, maybe journalists or consultants or life coaches who need a really fast turnaround, have zero audio engineering experience, and just want to add theme music right in the browser and hit publish.
Focus on the AI aspect for a second, specifically AI transcription.
Oh, transcription is huge right now.
It really is. Having a written transcript of your audio has become incredibly important, both for accessibility and for SEO. So how do these streamliners compare to the traditional hosts when it comes to getting a transcript?
Well, Riverside and Alitu have these transcription tools baked directly into their platform infrastructure. It's just part of that monthly fee you're already paying.
Okay, so it's all inclusive.
Right. But the traditional older hosts, they are scrambling to catch up by offering AI as an add-on service.
Ah, I see. Yeah, I saw in the Boomcaster guide that Buzzsprout has something called Co-host AI.
Yes, co-host AI.
It crafts show notes, chapter markers, and they have this magic mastering thing for audio enhancement, but it's an extra fee.
A significant one, too.
The guide mentioned it could add an extra $30 a month to your bill.
And that's why the cost architecture is so vital to monitor here. You have to look at the total package.
Definitely.
Now, Transistor took a completely different approach. They built in-house AI transcription as an incredibly cheap add-on.
How cheap are we talking?
Just $1 per hour of audio. Or they do a 5-hour bundle for $5 a month.
Wow, that is dirt cheap compared to $30.
It is. Podbean also offers its own Podbean AI for noise reduction and transcripts as an add-on.
Which really means you have to map out your entire workflow before you buy anything.
You absolutely do.
Because think about it. If you're paying $12 a month for basic hosting on Buzzsprout.
Right.
But then you're paying an extra $30 for their AI tools to do your show notes and transcripts. You're suddenly at $42 a month.
Exactly.
At that point, the $38 for Alitu's all-in-one meal kit actually makes more financial sense, and it saves you time.
It requires a really rigorous audit of your time versus your money. Consolidating your transcription, your audio leveling, and your hosting into one platform might actually reduce your overhead, even if the sticker price seems high at first.
I completely see the appeal. If your experience level is low and your desire to edit is zero, these all-in-one streamliners are just a godsend.
They're perfect for that specific demographic.
I see a massive financial wall approaching.
Oh, the multi-show wall.
Yes. Let's say you use Alitu. You're happily paying your $38 a month. You catch the podcasting bug.
Happens all the time.
You decide, hey, I want to launch a second show, maybe a 5-minute daily news briefing. What happens then? Do you have to pay another $38 every single month for that second show?
In almost all cases with these per-show pricing models,
Yes.
your costs multiply directly in tandem with your creative output.
That is brutal.
It is.
And that's exactly where I think creators get frustrated and start looking to completely rethink their architecture. Those per-show fees act as a penalty for experimentation.
They really do discourage you from trying new things.
Right. If you want to build a network of 3 or 4 shows, you need a totally different solution. So let's look at platforms built for scaling up.
When you reach this stage, you are no longer just thinking about a single audio file. You are thinking about brand architecture, scale, and cross-promotion.
Transistor is a name that comes up constantly in this tier.
They dominate this specific conversation.
Their starter plan is $19 a month. And the absolute standout feature that our sources hammer home over and over again is that Transistor gives you unlimited podcasts under one single account.
Which is huge.
You get 20,000 monthly downloads across all your shows combined without paying a dime extra.
From an economic standpoint, this is a massive differentiator.
I can imagine.
If you look at the G2 user reviews and the migration patterns, this unlimited shows feature is explicitly cited as the primary reason users leave platforms like Buzzsprout or Libsyn.
That makes total sense. Think about a marketing agency producing podcasts for 3 different corporate clients.
Right.
Managing 3 separate billing accounts at $20 each is $60 a month.
Right.
Transistor consolidates that to $19.
That's a no-brainer for agencies.
But wait, how do they afford that? If server space costs money, how can Transistor host 5 of my podcasts for the same price that Buzzsprout charges to host 1?
It's an actuarial calculation. It's very similar to how a buffet restaurant operates.
Okay, I love a buffet analogy. Go on.
Transistor knows that the vast majority of podcasts fade out, or they maintain very small audiences.
Sadly true.
So they cap your total monthly downloads at 20,000. It doesn't matter if you have one show getting 20,000 downloads or 10 shows getting 2,000 downloads each. The bandwidth cost to Transistor is exactly the same either way. They are selling you an allowance of bandwidth and letting you slice it up across as many RSS feeds as you want.
That is brilliant. And so freeing for the creator.
It really encourages you to play around.
You could start a highly niche, weird fiction podcast just for fun, and it costs you absolutely nothing extra to host it right alongside your professional business show.
Exactly. Now, Captivate is another platform playing heavily in this multi-show space.
Right, I saw them. They charge $17 a month, which is slightly cheaper.
And they also offer unlimited shows. But they seem to focus heavily on growth and marketing tools.
Captivate positions itself very strongly for professional podcasters who view their content as a business ecosystem.
What kind of tools do they offer?
They include things designed specifically to help you pitch yourself. For instance, they have trackable links for sponsorships.
Oh, that's handy.
They have a one-click media kit generation tool that automatically pulls your latest listener demographics into a nice PDF. And they have a dynamic show notes builder.
Let's talk about building that business ecosystem, actually. Because an audio feed floating in the void of Apple Podcasts is only one part of the puzzle.
It really is.
If you're building a brand, you need a website. And not just a single landing page with a play button, but a real searchable website for SEO, for capturing email newsletters, for selling merch.
So how do these platforms handle the website building aspect?
They handle it with varying degrees of complexity, catering to different technical comfort levels.
Walk me through it.
Transistor takes a very automated approach. They generate a built-in website for your show based on a few design themes.
Okay, pretty standard.
But What's particularly unique is that if you use their unlimited show feature, they will also auto-generate a network website.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it aggregates all of your different podcasts into one central hub automatically.
That's super cool. Podbean and Buzzsprout offer basic customizable sites too, right?
They do, yeah.
But what if you're a total control freak? What if you want ultimate control over your branding and you already run a heavy-duty WordPress site?
Then you look toward platforms that integrate deeply with existing content management systems. Our sources highlight Castos and Blueberry for this exact use case.
Right, I've heard of them.
Castos utilizes a plugin called Seriously Simple Podcasting, while Blueberry uses one called PowerPress.
I've heard of these plugins, but I'm a bit hazy on the mechanics. How does a WordPress plugin actually interface with a podcast host?
It's incredibly powerful because it centralizes your entire workflow.
Okay.
Normally, you'd log into your podcast host's dashboard, you'd upload your audio, write your show notes, and publish.
Right, step one.
Then step 2, you'd separately log into your website, create a new blog post, copy the embed code from your host, paste it into the blog, and hit publish again.
Which is just redundant work.
Exactly, it's annoying. These plugins eliminate the podcast host's dashboard entirely.
Wait, really? You never log into Castos?
You log directly into your own WordPress website. You create a new blog post. The plugin adds a little module at the bottom of the post where you attach your MP3 file.
Oh, that's seamless.
When you hit publish on the blog post, the plugin secretly sends the audio file to Castos or Blueberry servers for storage, updates your global RSS feed, and automatically displays a sleek media player right there on your blog post.
So you're publishing your podcast from the exact same interface where you publish your written articles.
Yes. You own the domain, you capture the SEO value directly, and you own all the traffic.
I also saw a platform mentioned called Podcastix.
Oh, yeah.
They offer a white label site that includes reviews, ratings, polls, and heat maps.
Heat maps are incredible.
Heat maps, meaning you can see exactly where people's cursors are hovering and clicking on your podcast webpage.
That level of behavioral data highlights a critical realization for creators scaling up. Owning your platform via a dedicated website is crucial for long-term brand building.
You really cannot rely solely on the interface of Spotify or Apple to convey your brand identity or capture your audience.
You just can't. They control the ecosystem there, not you.
I love this because we're talking about building your own media empire, complete with multiple shows, network websites, and custom analytics for roughly $20 a month.
It's an insane amount of leverage compared to what it would cost to start a radio station 20 years ago.
Oh, totally. But to truly be a media empire, you actually have to make money. You can't just pay $20 a month out of pocket forever.
And that transition from a passionate hobbyist to a revenue-generating entity is exactly where the technical requirements of your hosting platform become incredibly demanding.
Which means we need to master advertising.
Yes. This is where things get really complicated.
Let's dive into the monetization maze. We really need to focus specifically on dynamic ad insertion, or DAI.
DAI is the buzzword of the decade.
It really is. We also need to address what we're calling the impression dilemma, which came up in that fascinating Reddit thread.
Right.
First, though, for anyone who isn't a seasoned audio engineer, what actually is dynamic ad insertion mechanically?
It is arguably the most significant technological advancement in podcast monetization in the last 10 years. To understand it, you have to look at how ads used to be done.
Yeah.
The baked-in ad.
Right. Back in the day, you recorded yourself reading a promo for, like, a mattress company.
A classic podcast sponsor.
Exactly. You took that audio clip, you permanently mixed it into the middle of episode 12, exported the MP3, and it lived there forever.
Forever.
5 years later, someone discovers your show, they binge listen to episode 12, and they hear a promo code for a mattress discount that literally expired in 2021.
Which is a huge problem. Baked-in ads are permanent and inflexible. You are leaving money on the table because your back catalog is essentially dead inventory.
Right.
Dynamic ad insertion changes this entirely. I like to think of it like a digital printing press.
Okay, walk me through the printing press analogy.
Imagine a newspaper publisher. With a baked-in ad, the publisher prints 10,000 copies of the paper on Monday with a car ad on page 2 and puts them in a warehouse.
Okay.
Anyone who picks up that paper, whether it's Monday or 3 years from now, sees that exact same car ad.
Makes perfect sense.
Dynamic ad insertion is a printing press that only prints the newspaper the exact microsecond a reader picks it up off their driveway.
Oh.
With DAI, your main episode audio and your ad audio are stored as completely separate files on the host's server.
Okay, so they aren't mixed together yet.
No. You have episode 12, and you have a 30-second audio clip for a new sponsor. When a listener on their phone taps download on episode 12, the server acts as the printing press.
Right then and there.
Right then, in a fraction of a second, it stitches the 30-second ad audio into the main episode file, maybe as a pre-roll before the show starts, or a mid-roll in a designated empty slot.
And then it delivers that newly assembled file.
Exactly. It delivers that newly assembled, customized MP3 to the listener's phone.
That is incredible. So the file is literally being assembled in real time, on demand, every single time someone hits play.
Yes. And this allows you to run a 2-week ad campaign for a sponsor and insert that ad into your entire back catalog of hundreds of episodes simultaneously.
Which means someone listening to episode 1 from 5 years ago gets today's mattress ad.
Precisely. And when the 2 weeks are up, you simply turn the campaign off in your dashboard. The server stops stitching that specific ad into the downloads.
So your archives revert back to being ad-free?
Ad-free. Or you just swap in a brand new sponsor. Your archives become this timeless, constantly monetizable asset.
It turns a dusty library into a constant revenue generator.
It's brilliant.
But as brilliant as that sounds, our research shows that the reality of executing this is incredibly messy.
Oh, it's a nightmare for independent creators.
Let's look at this Reddit thread from the Fur podcasting community. We have a user named Graham Cluley. He posted looking for a very specific type of DAI capability.
His request is a perfect case study. It exposes a massive fault line in the hosting market between what advertisers want and what prosumer platforms can actually deliver.
What was he trying to do?
He had sponsors who wanted to buy a specific number of impressions. Let's say they only wanted to pay for exactly 5,000 listens.
Okay, pretty standard digital ad buy?
Right. So he wanted to upload an ad, have it run dynamically across his back catalog, and automatically stop stitching the ad the precise moment it hit 5,000 downloads.
Which sounds perfectly reasonable. That is how digital advertising works everywhere else on the internet.
Everywhere else, yeah.
You buy 5,000 impressions on a website, the banner ad loads 5,000 times, and then it automatically turns off. But in the podcasting world, Graham found out this is a massive headache.
It reveals the critical difference between date-based scheduling and impression-based scheduling.
Let's break that down. A user named Jordan Pods, who disclosed they actually work as a podcast producer at Buzzsprout, replied to Graham.
What did they suggest?
They suggested platforms like Buzzsprout, Transistor, and Captivate. But Graham replied saying he had actually called Buzzsprout tech support.
Oh, boy.
And Buzzsprout told him outright, there is not a way to have the content automatically removed once the downloads meet a certain number.
That is brutal.
He would have to manually monitor his own stats, log into the dashboard, and manually turn the ad off when it hit the 5,000 mark.
Which is practically impossible to manage effectively.
Yeah.
Especially if you have multiple campaigns running simultaneously across different time zones.
You'd have to, wake up at 3 a.m. to turn an ad off so you don't over-deliver.
Exactly. This is the reality of date-based DAI, which is the industry standard for almost all prosumer hosts right now.
So on Transistor's professional plan, which costs $49 a month, or on Captivate, you schedule campaigns by the calendar.
Yes. You say, run this ad from March 1st to March 15th. You cannot set a hard impression cap.
I just don't understand why. Why can I set an exact impression cap on a tiny, custom-built blog, but not on a dedicated podcast hosting platform?
It comes back to the fundamental architecture of the RSS feed that we discussed earlier.
Okay, remind me.
Remember, podcasting is not a closed, centralized ecosystem like YouTube or Instagram. When you publish an episode, you are just pushing a text file out into the wild.
Right.
Listeners are pulling your audio through dozens of fragmented, totally independent apps. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, Pocket Casts, CastBox.
Right, the host doesn't control the app the listener is using.
Exactly. To count real-time impressions across all those disparate apps, consolidate that data instantly, and tell the server to stop stitching the audio the microsecond it hits exactly 5,000 downloads requires immense enterprise-grade server power.
It's a huge coordination problem.
Yes, it requires highly specialized ad tech infrastructure. A blog can count impressions easily because the blog server controls the entire web page.
Right, it sees everything happening on the page.
But a podcast host only sees a ping from Apple servers or a ping from a random Android phone in Germany at totally unpredictable intervals. Tracking that with perfectly synchronized real-time precision is computationally very expensive.
Okay, so who actually has that computational power?
Good question.
Another Reddit user, Jake Berger, chimed into the thread and pointed Graham toward a platform called Spreaker.
Spreaker.
Spreaker uses technology powered by Triton Digital's audio ad server. And they actually can do hard-capped, impression-based campaigns.
They can. They possess that enterprise-level architecture.
Yeah.
But there is a massive financial barrier to entry.
Oh, yeah.
To access that specific campaign tool on Spreaker, you have to be on their publisher plan.
And here's the punchline, folks.
Right.
What does that publisher plan cost? $250 a month.
It's staggering.
Graham literally replied to the thread saying that paying $250 a month just to gain access to a tool to limit his ads is hard to justify.
I don't blame them.
The other option our sources mentioned for this is Megaphone, which is owned by Spotify.
Right, Megaphone is the big player here.
Megaphone definitely does impression-based DAI and incredibly advanced targeting. Like, you can target listeners based on Nielsen demographic data.
Which is incredible for advertisers.
But they are strictly an enterprise platform. They require you to prove you have at least 20,000 downloads per episode just to get in the door.
This raises an important question about the current state of the industry.
What's that?
The most sophisticated automated monetization tools are heavily gatekept. You either pay exorbitant monthly fees or you need a massive top 1% audience size.
Let me stop you there, because I'm putting myself in the shoes of the independent creator listening to this right now.
Okay.
Does this mean they are just completely locked out of professional advertising unless they have $250 a month to burn or 20,000 downloads an episode?
It feels that way, doesn't it?
Are independent creators just stuck manually refreshing their Buzzsprout dashboards every 3 hours? I refuse to believe that's the only way to do business.
It's not. It just forces a slight pivot in how you negotiate with sponsors.
Okay, tell me how to pivot.
For the vast majority of independent creators, date-based DAI, the kind offered by Transistor for $49 or Captivate for roughly $20, is more than sufficient.
But how do I handle the sponsor wanting 5,000 impressions?
You simply have to educate your sponsor. Instead of selling an exact impression count, you negotiate based on your average monthly downloads.
Ah, I see.
You approach the sponsor and say, my back catalog reliably gets 10,000 downloads a month. I will sell you a 2-week calendar slot, which should hit roughly 5,000 impressions.
So you sell the time slot, not the exact listener count.
Precisely. You sell the calendar real estate. It's an estimation, but it is a widely accepted standard practice for independent and mid-level shows.
So the sponsor understands there's a margin of error.
Exactly. However, if you truly have corporate sponsors demanding exact third-party audited impression caps to the single digit, and they are paying you a premium CPM rate to justify it.
Then suddenly, that $250 a month for Spreaker isn't a burden.
Exactly. It becomes a necessary and justifiable cost of doing high-level advertising business.
That makes total sense. You have to match your platform's capability to your sponsor's specific demands.
You don't need a semi-truck to deliver a pizza.
Right. And you don't need Spreaker to run an ad for a local coffee shop. But if you are chasing those big corporate sponsors, you can't just hand them a screenshot of your Apple Podcasts analytics page.
No, they will laugh you out of the room.
You're going to need enterprise-level data to prove your numbers are real.
Which leads us to the final frontier of choosing a host. Proving your worth through advanced analytics and agency tools. Because at the end of the day, the data is what you are actually selling.
We hear this acronym thrown around constantly in podcasting, almost like a badge of honor. IAB certification.
It's everywhere.
Buzzsprout proudly says they have it. Captivate has it. Libsyn has it. Acast has it. What is the Interactive Advertising Bureau, and why does their specific certification matter so much to advertisers?
The IAB sets the technical and ethical standards for the digital advertising industry globally. In podcasting, it is notoriously difficult to determine what actually constitutes a listen.
Why is it difficult? Doesn't the server just count how many times the file was downloaded?
It does, but a download does not necessarily equal a human ear.
What do you mean?
Well, what if a podcast app on someone's phone is set to automatically download every new episode over Wi-Fi, but the user hasn't actually opened the app in 3 months?
Oh, the file was downloaded, but nobody heard the ad.
Exactly. Or what if a search engine bot scrapes the RSS feed to index it? The server registers a request for the audio file, Advertisers absolutely refuse to pay money for a bot downloading an MP3.
Right. That's just throwing money into a furnace. So how does the IAB fix this?
IAB certification means the hosting platform's proprietary analytics algorithm has been rigorously audited by an independent third party.
Okay.
They verify that the host is actively filtering out known bot traffic, ignoring server requests from data centers, and filtering out duplicate downloads.
Duplicate downloads. Like if I listen twice.
Or if you download the first half of an episode on Wi-Fi, pause it, and then stream the second half over cellular data an hour later.
Oh, that makes sense.
The IAB standard ensures that only counts as one single download, not two. It's the industry's gold standard for truth. When you hand an advertiser an IAB-certified report, they trust that those numbers represent actual, living human beings.
Okay, so IAB certification is the absolute baseline for establishing trust.
Bare minimum.
But what if you need to go much deeper than just how many humans listened?
Deep analytics.
Right. What if you were producing a podcast not to sell mattresses, but as a B2B business-to-business marketing tool for your software company?
That's a whole different ballgame.
Our sources highlight a platform called Co-Host, which was created by the podcast agency Quill. It starts at $31 a month. What makes them so special for corporate shows?
Co-Host is explicitly built for brands and agencies who use podcasting as a lead generation tool. They offer a feature they call B2B analytics.
How does that differ from standard analytics?
Well, a standard IAB-certified host might tell you that 500 people in Chicago listen to your show on an iPhone.
Right.
Co-Host claims to be able to show you exactly which companies your listeners work at, their general job roles, their industry, and the average revenue of those companies.
Hold on. How is that technically possible? How does an audio file know where I work?
It's essentially an advanced form of IP mapping.
IP mapping.
Yeah. When a device downloads an episode, it leaves an IP address, like a digital footprint on the server. Co-Host takes those IP addresses and cross-references them against massive third-party corporate databases.
Oh, wow.
So if someone is listening on their company's Wi-Fi network or through a corporate VPN, Co-Host's system recognizes that IP block belongs to, say, a mid-sized logistics firm in Chicago, rather than just a residential internet provider.
Whoa. So instead of pitching an advertiser by saying, my average listener is a 35-year-old male.
Right, which is vague.
You can go to your boss and say, last week, our episode was downloaded by a marketing director at a logistics firm that makes $50 million a year.
Yes. For a B2B podcast where a single listener could eventually represent a $50,000 enterprise software contract, that granular, company-level data is infinitely more valuable than raw download volume.
You are measuring the financial quality of the audience, not just the quantity.
Exactly. Now, on the complete opposite end of the monetization spectrum, you have platforms like Acast and RedCircle.
How are they different?
They aren't about hyper-niche B2B targeting.
Mm.
They are built for massive distribution and plugging directly into programmatic advertising marketplaces.
I hear programmatic a lot, but what does a programmatic ad transaction actually look like in practice?
Programmatic advertising is where unsold ad inventory is automatically filled by an algorithmic ad network. It's very similar to how banner ads load on a news website.
Okay,
It happens in milliseconds. Let's run a simulation.
I'm ready.
You host your show on RedCircle. You have a mid-roll ad slot empty in episode 50. A listener hits play. In the fraction of a second before the audio starts, RedCircle's server sends a signal to an automated ad exchange. It says, I have a listener in New York using an iPhone listening to a true crime podcast. Who wants to buy this ad slot?
So it's an instantaneous auction?
Exactly. Computers representing various advertisers place bids. A national insurance company's algorithm bids 2 cents. A local New York concert promoter bids 4 cents.
And the promoter wins.
The promoter wins the auction. Their pre-recorded 30-second audio ad is instantly routed to RedCircle, stitched into the episode dynamically, and the listener hears the concert ad.
All of this happens in the time it takes the listener's thumb to lift off the play button.
Exactly. That is staggering technology.
It really is.
RedCircle has an ad platform that connects podcasters and advertisers directly to facilitate this. Acast has one of the largest podcast ad marketplaces globally.
So if your goal is to generate revenue purely through raw audience scale, without manually calling up sponsors and negotiating deals yourself, these platforms provide the exact infrastructure to do that.
Precisely. And we shouldn't forget Transistor in this analytics conversation either.
We talked about them for their unlimited multi-show hosting, but our sources constantly praise their analytics dashboards too.
They do.
They have these episode burn-down charts that compare your latest episode's performance against historical data, and they integrate seamlessly with third-party tracking tools like Chartable.
Plus, and this is a huge selling point, in the G2 reviews, they have rock-solid 247 human customer support via live chat.
Which brings us full circle to our very first point about the hidden cost of free platforms.
Exactly.
If a technical glitch is preventing your highly monetized, revenue-generating episode from publishing on a Tuesday morning, having a real human being available on live chat to fix it immediately is an invaluable feature.
It's an insurance policy on your revenue stream.
It really is. Okay, we have covered an incredible amount of ground today. Let's synthesize all this advice and give you, the listener, a final cheat sheet.
Sounds good.
You really have to match the tool to the job. If your podcast is a B2B marketing tool designed to generate high-ticket leads, paying $31 a month for co-hosts to see exactly what companies are listening is vastly more valuable than using a free platform.
Correct. Your return on investment is based on corporate lead generation, not on a fraction of a cent from a programmatic ad.
But if you are monetizing your show via Patreon or direct listener support, and you honestly don't care about corporate sponsors or programmatic auctions,
Then Transistor's private podcast feeds might be the perfect play.
right, which are included in their base $19 plan, you can generate an exclusive, password-protected, ad-free feed for your loyal fans effortlessly.
It's entirely about identifying your primary revenue stream and choosing the platform architecture that seamlessly supports it.
Let's round up this deep dive. If you are standing at the starting line and budget is your absolute only concern, Spotify for Creators or Podbean's free tier are your best bets to get your voice out there. If you have absolutely no technical experience, you don't want to learn how to use audio editing software, and you want a streamlined, automated workflow, look at Riverside for high-end remote video or Alitu for an automated audio meal kit.
And as your experience grows, if you want unlimited shows, network websites, and solid date-based dynamic ad insertion without breaking the bank, Transistor and Captivate are incredibly strong contenders that won't penalize you for experimenting.
But if you are playing in the big leagues, and you absolutely must have impression-based dynamic ads to satisfy corporate sponsors who want exact listener counts, you have to be ready to pay enterprise prices.
You really do.
You're looking at Spreaker's $250 a month plan, or Megaphone if you have the massive download numbers to qualify. You truly get what you pay for in this digital real estate market.
Which brings us to a lingering, somewhat philosophical question that emerges from studying all these sources.
Let's hear it.
We are witnessing a profound evolution in this space. Podcast hosts are no longer just simple RSS feed generators.
No, they're not.
They are rapidly transforming into massive, all-in-one ecosystems. They're offering AI editing, built-in website builders, proprietary ad networks, and exclusive monetization tools, all under one roof.
Like we said earlier, they're building the whole neighborhood, not just selling you the house.
Precisely. And this raises a provocative thought for you to ponder as you make your final choice.
Okay.
The fundamental architecture of podcasting has historically been decentralized and fiercely open. Anyone could create an RSS feed and distribute it to any app anywhere in the world.
Right.
But as these hosting platforms bundle more and more proprietary tools into their closed ecosystems, are we moving away from that open nature?
That's a scary thought.
Will the future of podcasting require you to choose not just a host, but a walled media garden? Because when your editing workflow, your website, your granular analytics, and your advertising are all locked into a single provider's proprietary format.
The technical cost of migrating away becomes exceptionally high.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You might find that the convenient, move-in-ready condo you bought is actually a gated community that you can never realistically leave.
Wow. It's something to think carefully about as you sign that digital lease.